Hello, hello there. I am Zakia Larry. Welcome to FinServe Now. So, you may know that this is part two of an absolutely phenomenal series. We are talking marketing in the age of pivots. Why is this important? Listen, guys, we have businesses to not only sustain, but elevate, especially in a topsy turvy season. And so, because this is part two, our part two is with Shama Hyder. Let me tell you a little bit about Shima before she joins us here for some newbies who may be here, and be sure to go back and watch part one because we are building from here. Now, Shima is absolutely phenomenal. Some of her notable clients include Chase Business, the US Navy, DFW Airport, Mary Kay, Tupperware. She's the CEO of Zen Media. And as a matter of fact, she and her team help both B2B and B2C brands make meaningful connections with modern day customers via influencer marketing, experiential and digital storytelling. And guess what? They turn those into bottom line results. Welcome, the Shama Hyder. Hello, hello, Shama. How are you? We can't hear you, my friend. By the way, guys, I got to let you know our platform. Oh, I hear her. Welcome, Shima.
Hello, thank you so much. So good to be here in this round two, part two. What are
Yeah,
we
it is
calling it?
part two. Oh my gosh, part two, right? This is exciting. So, Shima, I'm going to let the newbies know who may not have caught episode one with you that we're talking about marketing. And as a matter of fact, the first part we talked about strategy, okay, best practices, pivots, expected results. Today, oh yeah, tactics. Shima, I'd love for us to unpack tactics today. And so today we'll be talking to Shima about trending platforms and how to be effective, particularly in the real estate industry when you're thinking about what technology to use, how to get up to speed with new technology. And Shima has her finger on the pulse of new technology when it comes to your marketing needs. And how do you become more comfortable doing remote business? And especially with big ticket items like, oh, I don't know, property, right, Shima? So I just, I want to just jump right in. And I want you to just share with us. Let's start with this one. How do we even get our arms around what technology is available and how to get up to speed? I know there are learning curves.
Absolutely, Zakia. And by the way, it's so good to be here again with you, and your energy is just fantastic. So
Yeah.
it makes it double fun to talk about marketing and tactic stuff. Here's a couple of things to keep in mind, right? And I think we touched briefly on this in our strategic conversation. We'll keep this more tactical. You've got to realize that the wonderful thing happening in the industry right now is that people are willing to buy and do deals for big ticket items, like you mentioned, property, in a way that they might not have been comfortable pre-COVID, right? So we see this all the time. People are signing deals, they're buying properties completely unseen, things that we first relegated to maybe like one part of the population that's able to do that, like that 1%. But really now it's become the norm
Right.
for all of us to be able to do business in a way that, remote is is their primary, right? For most of us right now. And it's certainly true if you're watching this for your prospects, for your clients, for your customers. So take advantage of that. I think this is wonderful because I've talked to so many real estate folks, and while I know that so many of us love the handshakes and meeting people, you now have scale and scope that you just didn't have before, right? People are willing to take that remote tour and find out more and to sign on the dotted line. So certainly I think use technology to help you. And then also one kind of keyword to keep in mind as you're doing the uh, as you're marketing using these technologies is tapas. That's
Ah.
right. Because
Wait,
tapas
not
style
happy hour
tapas.
tapas though, right, Shima? Not
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm talking happy hour tapas. Minus the minus the happy hour, yes.
right.
But when you're serving up content, when you're educating your prospects, because so much what we're talking about is educating people, is giving
Yeah.
them the information they need, making them feel more comfortable with their decision when it is remote, when there's so many factors at play. And part of how you can do this is bite sized. And I remember last
Mm,
conversation we talked about, are you a connector, curator? What's your jam of or a
right.
creator? And part of it is if you are, if you like creating content, whether you're curating it, think tapas. Think how can you do multiple, mini pieces of content rather than. And I know here's the thing: I love long form content. I am the outlier. And if you're thinking, boy, I like that too, just know that you also are the outlier. Most people right
Ah,
now are so inundated that, I'm finding, for example, I've done keynotes for, over a decade now. The keynotes that are shorter, like this, like that are more packed, that are more robust, that are more fun, whether it's 15, 20 minutes, whatnot, they do a lot well. People resonate with that because let's face it, Zoom fatigue is real. Go to
oh
webinar,
yeah,
whatever, all that fatigue, the fatigue is real. So you want
it's
to make
real.
sure that you are there, consistent with your audience, but you're not over the top, right? Like that you're not giving them so much where they're overwhelmed, because we know a confused buyer doesn't buy.
I love that. Shima, you have shared so many jewels talking about power packed and robust. So I want to touch on a couple of things here because we have people of different skill sets
Hmm.
on this broadcast. So will you unpack a little bit about long form content versus short form content? What does that mean, and how does one develop one or the other?
Yeah, so great question. Long form content is like, the longer blog posts, longer videos. And again, there's a time and place for that. So I'm not discounting it. But when we talk about social platforms and what you're posting on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on YouTube, if you can keep it short, compact, if you have the choice of doing, multiple little things, like even breaking apart this video into multiple little chunks versus one longer piece, do it. Because that's just right now when people are so overwhelmed. And remember, holidays are coming up too, so now you have a whole another layer of
Right.
things for folks to deal with. So long form content is what you'd really think about, right, in terms of long blog posts, 1,000-word posts, longer videos, 60-minute meetings, things of that nature. And if you can
Mhm.
find a way to compress that, and maybe you break it apart like we did with, we were very meta about this, Zacchaeus. It was a great idea to break this into two parts, right? The kind of the strategy
Absolutely.
and the tactical. So think about the ways that you can do that with your marketing.
Oh, that's so good. So we mentioned technology, of course. That's why we're here. We're using technology to be here. Shema, when we say technology in terms of marketing during this pivot, is social media the end all be all, or what else can be leveraged?
Yeah, so remember, Zakia, when we were talking last week, I said when you think about social media, really you need to think beyond platforms because people assume those two are the same. But to me, I just think of social media as like it's shorthand for current state of the internet, right? It's just an abbreviation of like, so to me, Zoom, GoToWebinar, like all these platforms, they're all our social media. They're all social mediums. So in that way, is it the end all be all? Yes, because this is how you connect with your audience, right? And how you communicate and so forth. The other part of it is, our platforms key, yes, because this is where where your audience is. So I'm a big fan of LinkedIn. You can talk a little tactically about LinkedIn. If you are
Oh
not
yeah,
on
let's do it.
now, you're missing out just because it's such a great audience. There's so many professionals on there. I believe it's 625 million now, and
Wow.
it's a great chance to establish your thought leadership on there. to get your firm out there. I see people doing it so well across the field. And again, you can do this in bites, right? You could do that tapas style where maybe you have like a Monday memo that you share with your network. Maybe it is a Taco Tuesday where you invite people to have like bring your tacos and have a lunch and learn whatever. But you should definitely be using the platform because it is so powerful. It honestly is my favorite platform right now, especially because just the power of video alone with LinkedIn is so it's just amazing. And the stories, I will tell you, I'm a little less of a fan. LinkedIn stories.
Tell us why. Tell us why. A lot of people here use stories, and so we'd love to get your insight.
Yeah, I think stories make a lot of sense on Instagram. People are used to it. On
Yeah,
LinkedIn, it's a little harder for a natural fit, I find it. Now, I will say this, if you're in
agree.
real estate, it might be a more natural fit for you. I would just say, curb the impulse to be like, what are you having for breakfast today? Like, got my coffee, because it just feels forced. So, to me, when I think about content, I always think about how is this adding value to your audience? And you
Oh
really
yeah.
want to, so it's both. It's like, yes, you want to be top of mind, you want them to think of you, but also you want them to connect you with the right things, right? Like everything that I share, if you'll notice, if you'll go, and again, feel free guys to look at my LinkedIn and reverse engineer it for yourself. Like I think this is my top tip of the day. Reverse
I love it.
engineer. Like find people that you feel are doing a good job, have owned that platform and learn from it. I think sometimes we overcomplicate it and it doesn't have to be. So reverse engineer, and you will find that 90% of my content, if not 95%, is marketing, PR, how to get your brands out there. 5% might be a little more personal about, the philanthropy I'm involved with or something specific that I'm excited about. But 95% of the content is completely geared, to you. It's to the audience. So you want to think about what is your audience hungry for? What are they looking for? How can you establish
Mm.
yourself? Also, if again, we're getting tactical. So if you don't use Sales Navigator on LinkedIn, it's a fantastic tool because I know in real estate, a lot of business is done through partnerships and referrals, right?
Mhm.
So, and it's hard to keep in touch with everyone. On Sales Navigator, you can add those folks that you really want to do a better job keeping in touch with. And then anytime they have an update, it'll let you know and you can engage with them on that post. So it's a great way to stay top of mind, see what's going on in their world, and at the same time, have that professional connection.
Shima, this is so fantastic. I'm listening. I'm I'm taking my own notes. So,
Very
and
good.
I love that idea of also reverse engineering. Tapas is a huge takeaway. Let's, as we land, excuse me, as we land the plane here, let's ask the question that so many people toss around. Let's get to overwhelm, Shima. Can there be too
Yes.
much technology? Where should these professionals start? Or for that matter, heck, where should they end?
That's a good question, Zakia. And a lot of it just depends on your personal goals, right? So
Ah,
it's very closely tied. And here's the ultimate answer to me, the solution to overwhelm. Rather than feeling like you have all these things to choose from, right? Or all these things you have to kind of partake. So rather than thinking you're sitting down for a 7 course meal and waiting and you have to be like you're at, course number 3 and you're like, I'm already stuffed and there's like 4 more to go. What am I gonna do? Think
right.
of it as a buffet, right? Pre-COVID, obviously. Think of it as a buffet pre-COVID, and what you have is a wide variety of things to choose from. And I think this is the biggest mistake, you know, professionals make across the board. They go and saying, how do I use TikTok? How do I use LinkedIn? How do I
Yes.
use social media? You don't use any of it. Don't do that. It's a bad idea. Now, if you can be specific in your question, I want to create more relationships and connections with closing companies, or I want to make friends with, let's say you do commercial and you want to, partner more with residential. I have a specific goal of people I want to get in front of. Here's the audience that I really want to build, or I want people to list with me. This area, for example, the home buying area, whatever it may be. And then that once you ask that question, right? then you can look at, well, here's this buffet. Now, what helps me accomplish this goal? So putting strategy
Mm,
before the tactics really is the solution to overwhelm. I mean, people think that it's funny, if you don't know me, you would think like I'm always on social media, and I'm really not. I spend the majority of my time creating content, right? I don't
oh.
spend a lot of, yeah, I mean, I turn off my phone plenty, I put it down plenty. I think having a tech
Wait,
Sabbath
I
day.
think some people just passed out at hearing that. It's one, hard to believe, but also hard for them to do. So please keep going. I just wanted to acknowledge the people who need a drink of water right now. Get a drink of water and please continue to listen. So Shima, you really do disconnect. So how do you keep all of this
Yeah,
content going? What's your creation process versus posting process with technology?
I do. And here's the thing. I think that the idea of a tech Sabbath is a great idea. One day a week, not doing the smartphones, not doing the screens. I've tried to go back to analog books as much as possible and really just try to. So, but the difference is I'm very strategic. Believe it or not, I don't have Facebook on my phone. I don't have the app downloaded to my phone because I realize, yeah, because you have to realize it's on you to really create filters for yourself for noise and
Yeah.
signal, right? So,
Mm,
um, and these aren't technology issues. These are kind of personal productivity discipline issues. The
right.
reason I hear people say, "Oh, technology is so overwhelming," is because they just scrolled through Instagram for an hour and then they're trying to do something for work, and of course it feels overwhelming. Like your mind is just, has just been barraged, right? You're like,
Exactly.
it is too much. So you have to be very specific about what you're trying to do. And so to your question, I do spend a lot of time storyboarding my content, writing my content, and then I distribute it. And because I spend so much time thinking about, and we look at like search, like what are people searching for? What are they hungry for? What does
That's
my
so good.
audience need to hear? Right. So in everybody listening here, maybe it's, is it safe to buy a property when you haven't seen it? Like, what are the things you should consider? And
Mm-hmm.
so that's very timely. So if you spend more time being strategic and thinking about the content you want to put out there, you'll find that it does have better legs when you amplify. I also don't spend a lot, like I don't do a lot on TikTok. I don't Snapchat. I mean, I pick the platforms where I feel like my audience is, where I can engage fully or at least better, and realizing that I can't do it all. And the platforms I can't, I'm in a position where I feel very grateful. I have my team that they handle a lot of that stuff. But even if you don't have that, that's fine. You just need to be specific and consistent. I think that's the thing. I know folks
Yes,
like right now we're going back to the newsletter days. People are loving good content, and
that's true.
always love good content. So maybe it's, you go to Substack and you start a newsletter, you start a podcast, but you start thinking about how you can add value, and don't worry about, how many views can you rack up. I feel like we live in this world sometimes where it's about the number of hits versus the quality. And
Yeah.
when you're a professional, especially in the B2B space, your quality matters, your content matters, how you show up matters. So I just want to say it's not about who does the most.
Yeah.
This isn't like I don't believe in like the hustle hard till you fall apart philosophy.
Right.
I don't think it's healthy. I don't think it's necessary, frankly. I think there's just ways where you can cut down the noise. I had my mom like delete all these apps off of her phone because it's like, what are you doing all day looking? Like,
Right.
it's not helpful for you. So you have to
Right.
ask yourself what is useful for you, and then focus on that and stay consistent on that, and you'll find it has actually very little to do with technology.
Wow. Power packed time with you, Shima. Listen, guys, if you want to go even deeper, I mean, I know you've got notes. I've got a whole pad of them right now. I know it's so much that you get to just take and utilize from this moment. But let's continue to have this conversation with Shima. She's like, what? I have other things to do. Here's how, guys. You get a chance to get her book. Yes, you. She has gifted us a copy of her book for every attendee here. So, the book Momentum, the 5 marketing principles that will propel your business in the digital age. Who doesn't need that? So, guys, go to counselforinclusion.org. counselforinclusion.org/finserve-now. counselforinclusion.org/finserve-now. And there's a form for you to fill out and get your gifted book from Shama. Shama, thank you so much. I mean, there are so many things, but instead of doing a recap, I would just like to ask if you will just give us some final words of wisdom here. We've got some tactics we know about, go where your audience is. What's what's our next step? What's our marching orders once we hang up from here right now?
I'd say, Zakia, if I could give one tip, I'd say be consistent in what you're doing. I think that's super important. People expect marketing to just go out there, one thing, and then, people come rushing, and it just doesn't work that way. You really have to commit. You have to commit to, just like you do in professional development, you almost have to commit to building your brand, commit to marketing your brand, commit to, sending out these newsletters or email or whatever it is. Like, demand gen, lead gen, all these things are practices that take time and effort. And you do have to be consistent in what you're doing in order to build your brand. But the payoff is there. And I would just tell everyone, like, don't let it drive you crazy, because it doesn't need to. I just think it's very easy to look at things and be like, oh wow, this person's posting all the time, or look at this, and it's, you've got to do you and
Right.
find what works for your business, your life. And then when you do, just stay consistent. And I promise it does pay off, but it takes time.
It does pay off, but it takes time. Shima, thank you for your time. And we will be continuing to follow you. And I know some folks are going to be reverse engineering that LinkedIn profile, right?
Go for it.
Thank
Thanks.
you. You have a fantastic day. So,
You.
guys, how fantastic, right? So here's some just quick housekeeping for you guys. Again, thank you so much to Shama Hyder. And of course, new broadcast every third Tuesday of every month. And stay tuned, because there are going to be huge new developments coming from the Council for Inclusion in Financial Services about convening. How are we going to do it? Is it a conference? Is it in person? Is it not? Guys, this content is going to blossom and grow, and there will be another opportunity for you to go deeper to take your business higher. So, on behalf of the Council for Inclusion in Financial Services, this is FinServe Now with Zakia Larry. By the way, I'm Zakia. Have a fantastic day, and I will see you next month, Tuesday. Bye, guys.